Good morning, Michelle Saxman here, and ready to share today's daily devotional with you. And it is going to be Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. But before we get started, I actually want to give you some things to contemplate as we go through the reading. And the first one is understanding the value of salt. This is salt, light, and city. Those are the three takeaways: salt, light, and city. Salt was used to preserve goodness, to preserve meat when people had to travel or get through seasons from the hunting and the gathering. Salt was savory and used to preserve. In addition, after wars where they killed all the people, they tore down all the buildings and all of the walls, they would actually pour salt upon the soil. Salt of the earth is going to be to preserve. Salt on the earth is going to be so that future, they could not rebuild an agricultural environment, so they poured salt on the earth in order to destroy. Then it is light, and light unto itself is really, I'm not going to say is of no value, but it is actually a conduit for us to then have and be able to see contrast. We can see beauty through the light, but we can also see things that are hidden in the darkness. So light unto itself, sunlight, that sort of thing. But as an instrument of light, it is actually best used to kind of form contrast, to put the light on the things that are good, as well as when we have to put the light on the dark, recessed corners of our lives in order to create areas and opportunities of improvement. And then the third, so salt, light, and cities. And this I didn't know until I began doing a little bit of research, but imagine like you're kind of going through the wilderness, and once you see the city, that was an indication, it was a navigation point. Once you get to this city, you're going to go north, south, east, west, you're going to get to the city. How many times do you give directions to someone and I'll say, you're going to go down the street, when you get to the Target, you're going to turn right, when you get to the McDonald's, the 7-Eleven, and we choose these landmarks. And that's what cities were used for. So salt can be used to preserve, to give life in the future. Salt can be used to destroy things that are evil and bad. Light is used to shine the light on the good, as well as to create contrast, shine light on the darkness. So we're going to read right now Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So, contemplating this, Jesus is preaching to the disciples, to the people who are craving his word. And he says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world, a city on a hill. This is Jesus speaking to what you are, not what you are not, but what you are. And that is what I really appreciate about the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. It is about what we are to become. So acknowledging where we are not, in order that we may desire and journey further along this path with him. So he calls us salt. We are to preserve what is good, and we are to be the salt on the earth and stand in a presence of evil, that it may live no more. And there are times in our history, there are times in our current day where we as Christians are standing for what is good, but we may not necessarily be standing up against the evil in our communities and in our worlds. It's kind of like that go along to get along, but yet we are called to kind of pour the salt on that which is evil. And then we are called, you are the light of the world. So we are, as a city, we are a navigation point. We are something for others to look to and look toward, not for judgment and comparison. I do not like the cancer of comparison, but to be the church, to be the hands and the feet of our church in motion. So you are the salt of the earth. When the salt loses its savoriness, it is of no good. You guys, once salt loses its savoriness, it cannot be restored. So we need to be preserving the savoriness. And I really appreciate it. Savior, our Savior, and the savoriness of the salt. That was just a play on words when we add the I, the me, the he in me. So that's my takeaway for today, the contemplation, the savory flavor of the salt. And how to keep that going is adding the I, our Savior, making sure that we are continuing to nourish and nurture His powerful presence in our life so that we can preserve and preach the goodness. And you guys, preaching is not quoting Bible and verse. It is being the light, being the conduit, being the stillness in the midst of the storm. So we are called to be the city, a navigational point, to be the light and be the salt. So this is a time, where am I now? What does my life look like? Where am I complacent? And where do I need to be more like Jesus? So y'all have a super blessed day. Stay connected to the vine, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.